This is BRICS Global Television Network's Daily Roundup, and we begin with the headlines. In just under a week, South Africans head to the polls. Brazilian floods used by politicians to gain support ahead of their elections. Israel reacts to European countries recognizing the Palestinian state. And Brazil to host the 2027 FIFA Women's World Cup. Hello, I'm Juliet Newell. We start in South Africa. There's less than a week to go before the country heads to the polls to cast their votes in the national and provincial elections on the 29th of May. 2024 marks 30 years of democracy, with the African National Congress leading the country since it won the first democratic elections in 1994. But over the years, the ANC has steadily been losing popularity, from 70% in 2004 to 58% in 2019. Surveys suggest the party could drop below 50% in these elections, and that means a new phase in the country's politics could begin. Joining me now in studio is BGTN anchor Ray White. Hello, Ray.
Hi, Juliet.
So, the first question, the Jacob Zuma issue. Former president cannot stand in Parliament.
He can't because he was sentenced to 15 months imprisonment. He had told the Zondo Commission that he would not testify. He was then found guilty of contempt of court. So therefore, if you are found guilty of a crime, you can't. But there is the 5-year rule. So you have others who are standing for election as an MP. They can, because they've gone beyond their sentence, and then 5 years thereafter, they can, he can't.
So what does that mean for the Mkhonto weSizwe party?
It's a very good question, because it means they can still enter the elections. We're still going to see Jacob Zuma on the ballot paper. Simple as that. But he may not enter into Parliament. He's just the image of the party.
And then signing the NHI bill into law just was about 2 weeks at the time before the elections. Very, very strategic.
Yes and no, because most South Africans already have free healthcare. But you get to go into your hospital. The big question is what happens when you go into your hospital. So it's not about basically getting free healthcare. It's about quality healthcare. Like I say, when you go into your hospital, what happens then? And up to now, it's been very, very poor.
So that's going to pull in the voters for sure.
No, it won't, because people are used to this, and people are also not stupid as well. The lights have been off in South Africa. There have been water problems in South Africa.
Yes,
Address those first. I think this is too little too late.
Load shedding. We haven't had load shedding for 2 months now. That's strategic, surely.
It is. There have been allegations that they're burning up diesel, that the budget is depleted for the year, is depleted in the first 2 months. So, yeah, what happens on the 30th of May? Will the lights go out again? Let's wait and see.
So, Ray, what would it mean for the ANC if they fall below 50% and even way lower than that, say 40%?
It becomes very interesting, you see, because if they go really low, and we've even heard 35%, then they have to find a friend, a buddy, and go into coalition with them. But the problem is, who are their friends? And at the moment, their friends are few. The EFF, we have Julius Malema, who doesn't get on with President Cyril Ramaphosa. So how does that work? We have Jacob Zuma, who doesn't get on with President Cyril Ramaphosa. That also doesn't work. Who's their friend? Maybe just the DA. We'll have to wait and see what happens.
But the DA has also formed that moonshot pact. So how will that work?
So they'll need to get up to the DA themselves, 25-30%, and then go to coalitions with the Moonshot Pact, which means the other smaller parties. They then all get together. And if they get more than the governing party, the ANC, we will see change in South Africa. But it's all on a knife's edge. I'm so looking forward to this.
Thank you, Ray. Really looking forward to chatting to you next week, just before the elections, and then again just after, when we'll unpack everything and then what it means for the country.
Exciting stuff.
That was Ray White, BGTN anchor, chatting to us about the upcoming South African elections. Coming up, in Brazil, as the people of Rio Grande do Sul piece their lives together following devastating floods, politicians are using the tragedy as a tool in their electioneering as the country heads to the polls later this year. 20
22 Seconds came about. I've been working on human trafficking stories recently. I've been doing documentaries. It was just like, are we doing enough? It was a campaign that was, let's challenge ourselves, let's get it out there, let's try and reach as much people as possible.
130 people are trafficked all around the world per hour. So every 22 seconds, someone is being trafficked. 22 seconds could be your walk from a school gate inside the school. It could be your walk from your house to the bus station. It's just a short distance.
This campaign is a campaign that is set to raise awareness, to show the severity of this crime that's happening around us. I'm hoping that it will get society to speak about it. It will get communities, governments and organizations to come together and tackle this. I'm hoping that it will get the young girl, the young boy to understand the dangers that we live around.
And we're speaking to schools so that children are also aware of this. Teachers are aware, because also teachers play a vital role into seeing kids that they teach that this child was not like this. The campaign is running for a month, but that's not where our work will end. We will continue campaigning and we will continue moving towards our goal of getting 22 million signatures.
You can share the campaign firstly on social media using the hashtags 22 seconds not for sale, hashtag 22 seconds empower change, because we are empowering change. Please sign the petition. The whole idea also behind the petition is that once we reach 22 million signatures, we will take it to the UN.
It is up to us to raise awareness and show human trafficking that it has no place in our society.
In Brazil, following weeks of heavy downpours and subsequent flooding, the people of Rio Grande do Sul are now trying to piece together their lives. The true cost of the tragedy is now revealing itself. More than 160 people have been killed, around 85 are still missing, and more than 650,000 displaced. Thousands of homes have been damaged or destroyed, roads washed away, and there's extensive damage to infrastructure. But with municipal elections coming up in October, some politicians are using the tragedy as a campaigning tool. Our BGTN correspondent in Brazil, Chris Goldenbaum, has more.
Political polarization has become the norm around the world, and it is no different in Brazil. In times of tragedy, such as now, polarization becomes even more noticeable. People haven't even started to rebuild their lives, and politicians are already using this tragedy to score political points. The moment of solidarity and unity that Brazil fostered at the beginning of the tragedy has been partly marred by political interests. As we reported here on BGTN, a massive operation involving private institutions, public organizations, and private individuals generated hundreds of tons and millions of dollars of donations to the affected areas. The help continues to be sent to Rio Grande do Sul as people are preparing their lives from scratch. The current year is also an election year, with mayors and municipal councils set to be elected in October. These elections are seen as a key indicator for the general elections in 2026. So the stakes are already high. A wave of false information and disputed news dominates social media. One side denies climate change, while the other accuses environmental damage.
No Brasil e no mundo, você tem sempre uma tendência para polarizar qualquer discussão,
Well, in Brazil and around the world, you always have a tendency to polarize any discussion. If we go back a bit in time, we'll see that the pandemic was also shaken by discussions between left and right, between people saying they were in favor of health and other deniers, and with an issue as serious as the floods, it's not much different. You have the two political forces, left and right, debating.
Então, é muito comum você ver do lado da direita.
So it's very common to see discussions on the right showing any mistakes made by the federal administration or even the state administration. And when you see discussions on the left showing any problems that Governor Eduardo Leite could have faced in a kind of pre-crisis administration.
O governador Eduardo Leite poderia ter incorrido numa espécie de administração pré-crise.
The nature of disputes has transitioned from online social media platforms to real-life offline situations, such as the son of former President Jair Bolsonaro, Eduardo Bolsonaro, who tweeted videos of himself driving around the floods in a jet ski to expose what he calls the truth. He was referring to his accusations that the federal government is lying about the level of help they are sending to the flooded areas. Bolsonaro says the government is using the tragedy to win voters from Rio Grande do Sul. The accusation gained traction when President Lula da Silva created an extraordinary secretary for the disaster and nominated Minister Paulo Pimenta to head the project. A highly controversial decision since Pimenta is from Rio Grande do Sul and is considered the administration's hope to run for state governor in 26.
Então, esse tipo de debate viciado,
So this kind of rigged debate ends up being very bad, but it also has a good side, which is precisely that it encourages people to speak out. The problem for those in the center is that they often end up being harmed because it's like coffee with milk. You don't taste the coffee or the milk. It's a cappuccino, right? It's a mixed taste. So the center politician today has a hard time standing out in the scenario because he's neither one thing nor the other. He's exactly in the middle. I believe that, as we've seen in the past, the centrist politician only achieves some kind of prominence when he embraces some kind of flag.
Tipo de destaque quando ele abraça algum tipo de bandeira.
In the midst of conflict between Bolsonaro's right-wing and Lula's left-wing narratives, center-right Governor Eduardo Leite is also encountering difficulties. Disliked by both sides of the spectrum, he has been the victim of high amounts of fake news and speculation. A presidential hopeful, Leite is only 39 years old, the first openly gay governor in Brazil, and considered a prodigy, as he's already in his second term as governor. However, he has been accused of weakening environmental protection laws in the state. Leite responded by first denying it, but then he said that, quote, there are many agendas for us to worry about, which didn't sit well with many ordinary Brazilians. He also said that the donations may harm local businesses in the region, which was widely criticized, after which he apologized, saying it was all a misunderstanding. Speaking of donations, while the political class may have similar intentions to benefit from the tragedy, Brazilian society continues to unite in providing assistance to those affected, regardless of their political views. Chris Goldenbaum, BGTN, São Paulo, Brazil.
India's elections have entered the last stages with more than 1 billion people eligible to vote. Voting closes on June the 1st, with results due a few days later. For an update on the voting, BGTN India correspondent Venkat Narayan has more.
voting in India, the world's largest democracy, has been completed in 4/5 of the country. Voters in the remaining 1/5 of the country will pick their parliamentary representatives in 2 more rounds of voting on the 25th of this month and 1st of June. Results will be announced on the 4th of June. However, curiously enough, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Bharatiya Janata Party, or BJP, and the opposition India bloc are claiming that they have already procured a working majority in the new parliament and they are ready to form the next government. Modi's senior leaders Amit Shah and Rajnath Singh say that the BJP has already won 300 seats and Modi will be sworn in as the next Prime Minister. Rahul Gandhi, Congress Party's Prime Minister in waiting, has declared that there is no question of Modi being allowed to come back to power this time and the opposition bloc will form the next government. The opposition leaders say that they will meet on the 4th of June and pick their prime ministerial candidate by consensus. The party that brings more seats than any other opposition party will have its leader as the next Prime Minister of India, they say. However, Rajnath Singh and Amit Shah say that Modi will win this election. Not just that, he will also capture power in the next election in 2029. India's best-known political strategist, Prashant Kishore, says that Modi may have lost some of his charisma, but there is no one in the entire opposition to match his ability to win votes. He believes that Modi will win 300 seats and form the next government also. Amit Shah and Rajnath Singh claim that Modi will form not only government this time, but also in 2029. Even betting agencies are banking on Modi coming back to power with an impressive majority. S. Venkatnarayan in New Delhi, India.
And coming up, I'll be talking to Idan Ronan, Middle East researcher and journalist in Israel, about the latest developments in that region.
On 3. Let's go. Right hand on 3 for super.
There have been several developments in the Middle East pertaining to the Israel-Gaza conflict. Saudi Arabia and Qatar have welcomed the decision by Ireland, Norway and Spain to recognize a Palestinian state. Saudi Arabia tweeted, "The kingdom appreciates this decision issued by friendly countries, which affirms the international consensus on the inherent right of the Palestinian people to self-determination, and calls on the rest of the countries to quickly make the same decision." Qatar says the announcement is an important step in the support of a two-state solution, and also expressed hope that other countries would follow suit. Saudi Arabia has for many years championed the Palestinian cause and has never recognized Israel. In September last year, a month before the October 7th Hamas attacks on Israel, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman said progress is being made with the United States on a possible normalization deal, and this would also involve beefed-up security and other agreements. The kingdom's being clear on conditions of the agreement, though, and one main sticking point is that Israel would have to take steps towards recognizing a Palestinian state. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has repeatedly said he opposes this, calling it a reward for terror.
The intention of several European countries to recognize a Palestinian state is a reward for terrorism. 80% of Palestinians in Judea and Samaria support the terrible massacre of October 7. This evil must not be given a country. This will be a terrorist state. It will try to repeatedly carry out the massacre of October 7, and we will not agree to that. An award for terrorism will not bring peace, nor will it stop us from defeating Hamas.
Hamas attack on Israel claimed around 1,200 lives and roughly 250 were taken hostage. The Israeli Defense Forces' reprisal attacks on Gaza have killed more than 35,000 people. That number's according to the Hamas-run Ministry of Health. Israel disputes these numbers, claiming 16,000 civilians have been killed and 14,000 terrorists. Meanwhile, Israel's reacted to the announcement that Norway, Spain and Ireland would formally recognize the state of Palestine by recalling its ambassadors from these countries for consultations. Well, I'm joined now on the line by journalist and Middle East researcher Idan Ronan. How is Israel reacting to the news that these three countries are going to recognize the Palestinian state?
Israel has exercised a series of actions where the most prominent of which is recalling the ambassadors of all these three countries. It is a significant step. It is a very dramatic step. One more thing that Israel has done, it reaffirmed the law to resettle in some sections in the northern part of the West Bank. A quick reminder, the 2005 disengagement plan, that is the name in the Hebrew language, disengagement plan, where practically that basically means to leave Gaza. It was not only Gaza, it was Gaza plus 4 more settlements in the northern part of the West Bank. Now, Defense Minister Yoav Gallant has decided to undo that part of the West Bank and basically to allow the resettlement of all these 4 spots being evacuated in the year 2005. Probably meaningly because of wherever there is Jewish settlement, there's also security. Wherever there is no Jewish activity, wherever there is no Jewish presence, by necessity, there will always, this vacuum will be filled sooner or later by Arabs and then sooner or later by Arab terrorists.
Just a point there, Benjamin Netanyahu has been resolute, he's remaining resolute on not recognizing a Palestinian state. And I think what you're saying is there is no possibility that he or anyone else in Israel is going to buckle under the pressure of these other countries.
Nothing is more precious than returning our own 132 hostages, loved ones, victims, still rotting and decaying in the dungeons of Hamas terrorists. And just a quick reminder that the objectives here, the total extermination of Hamas and returning of the hostages.
I'd like to just quickly touch on the application by the International Criminal Court prosecutor Karim Khan seeking arrest warrants for Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, as well as the Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, as well as 3 other Hamas leaders. Do you think those arrests are likely and imminent?
It is subject to Israel's actions. We cannot tell by now, but if Israel will do what it is currently doing now, and that is to diplomatically blitz each and every country in the whole planet for the best of Israel's ability, you have to keep in mind, that's pretty much Israel's language, that this decision by the ICC will eventually backfire at you as well, because it will set a precedence that democratic countries will never be able to fight Islamic terrorism, because their soldiers, their military commanders will be also subject to those ridiculous arrest warrants, and also their heads of state just as well. And whenever the legal precedence is set, it is extremely beyond difficult to reverse it back and put the genie back in the bottle.
Thanks very much for chatting to us today. That was our journalist and Middle East researcher Idan Ronan chatting to us from Israel.
18 Gangster Museum and Township Tours takes us on a transformative journey alongside reformed gangsters, showcasing the remarkable evolution from purveyors of drugs and violence to architects of captivating tourist attraction.
We're primarily focused on alleviating gangsterism, so we take people around the townships.
Hi, I'm Ava. I think you should watch BGTN TV because it's the best.
In BRICS Plus sports news, Saudi Arabia is gearing up to hold the first ever Ultimate Fighting Championship fight in Riyadh, and tickets are now on sale. And it's just a month to go until Australian Robert Whittaker and Russian Khamzat Chimaev will face off on June the 22nd at the Kingdom Arena. Tickets start at $26, and for floor seats, you'll have to reach quite a lot deeper into your pockets. Those are on sale for $800. But it's bound to be worth every penny. Whittaker's been making waves in the sport for some time as former middleweight champion and professional mixed martial artist since 2009 and becoming the middleweight champion at UFC 213. He most recently defeated Brazil's Paulo Costa at UFC 298. Chimaev is looking to maintain his undefeated record and continue his rise in the middleweight rankings. He's won 6 fights by knockout, 5 by submission, and 8 wins in the first round. As part of the UFC's inaugural event in the Kingdom, fans will also be treated to an exhilarating showdown with Russia's Sergei Pavlovich and compatriot Alexander Volkov, facing off in a clash of heavyweight titans. And Brazil's emerged victorious in the bid to host the 2027 Women's World Cup during the FIFA Congress, surpassing the joint proposal from Belgium, the Netherlands and Germany.
And the winner is Brazil!
Brazil is the first South American nation to host the tournament. Garnering support from 119 member associations, Brazil's bid outshone the European consortium, which secured 78 votes. Ednaldo Rodrigues, president of the Brazilian Football Confederation, says it's not only a triumph for South American women's soccer, but also for women globally. He pledged to deliver an exceptional World Cup experience without hubris. The decision swung in Brazil's favour following a recent FIFA technical assessment, scoring Brazil's bid at 4 out of 5, slightly edging out of the 3.7 scored by the Belgium-Netherlands-Germany alliance. The competition narrowed to 2 contenders after the withdrawal of the United States and Mexico's joint bid, redirecting their focus towards the 2031 tournament. Gianni Infantino, president of FIFA, lauded Brazil's hosting prospects, anticipating it to be the best Women's World Cup. And finally, South Africa's iconic Comrades Marathon's just over 2 weeks away, coming up on the 9th of June. This year's event will see around 23,000 runners taking part in the 87.6-kilometre uprun that starts in Durban and ends in Pietermaritzburg. BGTN correspondent Lebo Masike takes a look at what it takes to win the coveted title.
Early morning in Rustenburg, we're out and about as BGTN, joining Nedbank Runners Club, the elite. Amongst the elites, we have the 2022 and 2023 champion.
Blessed to have these guys around me. They have positive mind and positive goals. So if you are around them, obviously your mind will also be positive.
And that's today's Daily Roundup. We'll be back again tomorrow with more BRICS Plus news. Until then, stay up to date by visiting our website and social media.